Hello again, and welcome to today's webinar on Social Media Listening 101, in which we're going to offer you an overview of the social media listening landscape with some tips and tools on how you can use social media listening to make your campaigns more effective. My name's Natalie Hart, and I lead the project on advancing strategic ocean communication. So this is a project that's led by Communications Inc. in partnership with the Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation and the David and Lucile Packard Foundation. I think a lot of you on this call are familiar with the project already, but for new people, welcome. So this project seeks to advance the practice of strategic communications in the ocean sector, to make evidence and tools more accessible to all ocean communicators, and to really galvanise greater investment in ocean comms. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Captions on the webinar are enabled. The webinar is being recorded. And so you're all aware, we're rerunning the webinar tomorrow at 3 p.m. in Portuguese live. And I know a couple of people signed up to both of them. So just so you're aware, the content will be the same on both days, but tomorrow it will be delivered in Portuguese instead. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Veronica Ferrari, who we're very happy to have joining us today to share her expertise. So Veronica is a multilingual social media analyst and writer with 10 years of experience in corporate communications and social media listening. She has supported international companies, agencies, NGOs, and governments with intelligence reports that offer practical insights into the impact of online conversations and social media data. And in 2023, she was nominated by the Social Intelligence Lab as one of the 25 pioneers in social media intelligence worldwide. So we're very happy to have her sharing all of her wisdom with us today. I will now hand over. Everyone in the chat, it would be really great if you could just say hello, who you are, where you're joining us from. If you do have any questions, Veronica will be doing a Q&A at the end of the webinar session, but do kind of put your questions in there as they come up, and she'll get to them at the end. Thank you. Over to you, Veronica.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's really exciting to work on the project with ComsInc and get everyone more aware about the social media listening world. I think in the past 10 years, there's been a lot of change. And so I really enjoy running these trainings and just sort of see through how things change and how much the social media data has become more important and companies and organizations are just a lot more aware of its importance for communication. So it's great to be here. So Natalie already mentioned a little bit about my background, but I just thought it was interesting to see in the way also how things change in terms of how the work itself for people in the landscape has evolved. So I started working in social media listening about 10 years ago in an agency called Social 360 that is now being sold to Signal AI, which is one of the main providers nowadays. So at the time, it was very much all new, so many of the platforms we use today were not even there. There was a lot more accessibility to data that people could analyze. So things have changed a lot. And the other aspect that has evolved significantly is how social media data is used. So before it was probably something very basic, companies just wanted to know what do users say about them and about their products. But now it has a lot of different aspects, as we will see today, and I think it has become more significant for different industries and just different communication areas that people didn't think of using social media data for before. And as Natalie mentioned, like I was nominated by the Social Intelligence Lab in 2023. I think I'll mention them a bit more later, just because this is like the first community for people involved in social media listening that was created, and it's totally free, and it was created by an amazing woman who researched for her PhD about social media data and didn't really found many people who were in the space, and just thought like, oh, we should have a community, and she since then she's been creating a lot of free webinars, free courses, that it could be a great resource for anyone who is interested in this. So just like getting started a little bit with what we are going to cover today. We'll see, like, I use the word social media listening, but we'll see that there is a lot of other ways that this is called, and that you will probably come across, and just like what are the differences, or if it's all the same. And I'll look a little bit at just how things have changed in the past 10 to 15 years, and how the social media listening is now used in communication. And we then look at different platforms and what we can access for free, which is the big, like what we are all interested in, because this is the aspect that has changed the most, what data can be accessed and how social data can be researched by anyone. And then instead, like looking at what we cannot do anymore for free, and what like sort of tech tools exist that you might be interested in thinking about in the future. We're gonna have a look at what the impact of AI is in social media listening, and what we can and cannot use it for. And then I've prepared some free resources that you can browse later, and just like mentioning the trainings, as Natalie said, that we are gonna run to go more like into the practice of looking at the different applications. Okay. So there are a lot of names that come up when we think about social media listening. Some people call it monitoring. I think monitoring was definitely more used in the past. Some people call it social media intelligence. Some people say social media research. I just wanted to like show all of these because even though, you know, people more like specialize in the field try to give slightly different definitions for each one of them, the truth is that most of the time we all just mean the same thing. So I would say you probably come across when you're looking for tech providers, if you're looking for someone to hire maybe who to work on this, if you yourself are looking at you know, like resources, blogs or websites about the topic, you probably see variations of the social media listening. And you know, some people will say, "Ah, no, I don't do that. I'm not a social media analyst. I'm, you know, I do monitoring." But yeah, I would say most of the time we just all mean the same thing. And maybe sometimes we can think like the monitoring just more like specifically going to look at names, products, brands, organization names, following certain hashtags. Some people with like social media intelligence mean overall, like all of the tech providers, the tech tools, the different methods of research. But it's just like a little, like a small glossary to have with you in case you come across as you get like into the into the area. I would say, like, in terms of the changes that have been happening, like the beginning of social media listening was very much something that companies internally did not have capacity for. They were usually like communications and PR team, or probably marketing teams that starting to work on social media and creating the content for their agencies and clients, but they didn't really have the capacity internally, or even the tools to work on the monitoring, assessing what the conversation was. And so they usually outsource to some like external specialist for an agency, like could be Communications Inc. and so on. So it was even for the bigger brands, something that was very rarely done inside an organization. And now this has changed a lot. So more and more people, of course, social media teams in general have grown a lot in the past 10 years. So now there are even for big companies, people specialize on one single channel, or it's just something that has been sort of absorbed internally, and people look more to purchase a tech tool that they can use in their own team rather than have an agency providing the reports and the analysis already written for them. But often I find like with organizations and governments and less marketing focused type of companies, this is still very much something that gets outsourced just because the comms teams tend to focus a lot on, producing the content, writing press releases, dealing with external relations and anything of the kind. So they don't have the capacity still to bring that in-house. And is interesting to see how, things will change, and with more and more people, I think, being more familiar with social media, like really knowledgeable about it, this is something that probably becomes easier over the years for someone to incorporate internally. And yes, as I mentioned, like again, before it was more the agencies using the tools because they can be quite like tacky to use in a way, like using like creating the right search queries, knowing how to generate the graphics for the social media data and interpreting the graphics. So sometimes the clients just wanted, the report with an analysis and everything explained for them. And now people are just more internally capable to deal with this, which I think sometimes is really important because nobody will know better than the organization themselves what the products are, what the campaigns they're working on are, what matters to them, because at the end, you have all this social media data, all these platforms, all this content that is generated every single day, and what matters is like, what do we do with this? What does this data mean for our organization, for the event we are running, for the campaign we are promoting, for our cause? What, like, this is it's not about the data itself, but about the insights that the organization can find in them. So I always find like internal teams are always the best to get to the results. The other aspect that has changed a lot is the data accessibility, and we see in detail. The overall idea is that, as I said, people have realized more and more the importance of this data for all sorts of industries and organizations. And so the social media companies have sort of turned this into a business more than before. So, they have started to remove access to certain parts of the platforms and certain data that before you could freely search, and now it is all sold to the tech providers so they can resell it themselves. And this is happening more and more. So it's often the case that if someone has the budget for it, having a tool to use gives you access to the most data. But we'll try and still get access to free data as much as we can and see how to. And finally, we talk more about like how AI is being used in social media listening. This is very recent. I would say there isn't still much application for it, but I'm sure, this is something that is evolving very quickly. So it will change year by year. But it's interesting to see how the social media listening tools already integrate some generative AI, and sort of like we talk more about different ways that we can use it to our advantage. So talking about how we use social media listening, this is like a bit of an overview of some of the more common applications. So the first and most, I would say, traditional one is the conversation monitoring. So this could be simply looking at what do social media users say about my organization? What do they say about my product? What do they say about the specific topic that we are monitoring, that we are interested in? And so with a list of keywords and names, you can really sort of find relevant data that will show you where the conversation is happening. First of all, which platforms do users use to discuss. So usually, for example, if it's something very like consumer focused, people will use a lot of like Reddit conversation to discuss, for example, like specific products, or they will share the reviews on certain websites. If they're discussing like a brand, they tends to be more on for example, like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, where people like specifically talk about a brand. And similarly with the events or social media campaigns, this is very much based on the name of the events, the hashtags that you might have created. So after an event, or as you are working on a campaign, you will want to monitor what the users are saying about it, or afterwards as a sort of form of reflecting and reviewing how the event went. So the most typical analysis usually are what we would say like a sentiment analysis. What was the sentiment around the event and the campaign? Did people review it? Did people speak positively about it? Is there anything that was mentioned online that could be improved for next time? Because very often people will go and share this on social media more directly than they might send a feedback by email, or reply to a form. They will sort of engage more in social media. So it's a very interesting type of data to analyze. And the same with the consumer analysis. This can be very broad sometimes, because you might be looking like very generically, like, what is the conversation around sun cream and the effects, like different type of sun cream products and the effects on the ocean. And people might start all sorts of discussions like on Reddit and suggesting different ideas, different things they've tried, or there is a lot of Facebook groups that could be public about like projects of collecting plastic on the beach, or just all different like community focused activities that consumers will do, and that can provide like interesting insights into what are people focused on. And it is often used to generate new ideas for the next campaign, the next event. It's very good insights for like sort of idea generation for companies. The crisis communication, this is a bit the more like fast-paced one. So is a very like reaction to a news, something happened, and we need to monitor like what the conversation is. And I've done a lot of these over the years, and I will say probably X used to be, or still is in a way, the more like news-focused platform where people really go and discuss what has been happening, sharing news about it. certainly more on Instagram stories as well, although unfortunately those disappear after 24 hours. So it's difficult to know exactly like the conversation on those, but it will often be more like high profile individuals discussing. So you find like lots of journalists, a lot of commentators, politicians might be intervening, and it's a type of monitoring that looks more at the main voices and most influential voices to understand um, what should an organization focus on. So there have been situations in which companies and organizations needed to write a press release and a statement in response to um, a crisis, and before deciding what to say, they would use social media listening to see where was like the biggest worry among users. And it's a sort of like communication strategy to say, okay, if nobody's worrying about this, we are not gonna put it and make them worry about it. Let's just see what we should focus on. And also like in certain environmental crisis situation, like I've seen a lot of communities creating like Facebook groups, specifically, to help in the area, and just like create like just like local support and so on, which can be a good source of information to see, how you can help, and like get in touch with local organizations. And maybe like use them if it's, for example, like in a different country and you need to like contact people in different languages, you could find someone local who's already sort of organizing via social media, and they can be like a good local support for you. So again, all different type of data and information that you can find from social media that otherwise someone might be in Brazil or in the other side of the world and you wouldn't really know who to get in touch with. So this is good tool. When it comes to influencer mapping, this is interesting. It's something I currently do a lot, and it's around finding the right people for supporting your campaigns. And it doesn't necessarily need to be, a celebrity, a top influencer with millions of followers. Sometimes the right influencer for you is someone that is very vocal in that cause, someone who is very actively for like small local communities, and it can be like someone that you wouldn't find again without out of social media. There's been a lot of young people becoming more and more active through social media for like climate causes, and I think definitely like social medias help them to raise their voice around like the causes they care about. And finally, trends analysis. This is something that is, I would say, very trending at the moment in terms of really trying to like predict what consumers will care about next. So this is sometimes is also called like foresight analysis, like future trending is basically trying to see from social media conversation what are like the most trending topics of the moment, and understanding whether they will carry through, if they have a bigger impact in certain cultures and certain groups in the population. These are some, there are more, but I would say these are probably the most interesting one. And we will, in the trainings, look at like practical case studies for each of them, so we can really get a better idea. Okay, so talking about the data, I think, as we mentioned, things change a lot and are getting more difficult to be accessed for free. But as I was telling Natalie, as I went through each of the platform for preparing the webinar, I realized that we still have a lot that we can use for our analysis, and that it's all free data that is out there, and it's following different also like movements of where people are going in different platforms. So I would say with X, this used to be the like most used platform for any like reaction to news, discussion, hashtag campaigns, you know. And what changed is that while before any company could basically develop a small research tool for free and use the API from Twitter and import any data into their tool. This is not possible anymore, and the cost have become absurd with like it's 40K a month. So this is something that just like the large tech providers are now able to have. And so if you want to have a tool, you're gonna have to have a budget to go and purchase a subscription for something that might be maybe like 12K a year, 15K a year, something reasonable. So that's sort of the only way to go now, unless you get like a huge funding. But what is still free and still available for now, and I hope it will stay, is the advanced search online. So if you simply Google X advanced search, you get this tab where you can basically look for any keyword, hashtag, handle of usernames, combination of keywords, exclusion of keywords. You can filter the results and just look at specific time frame. You can look at like engagement, likes. So this is still very valuable. Of course, what you see is basically like, you know, a really long stream of posts and contents that you have to analyze. But if you're looking at something about your own organization, about a specific hashtag that you created or that you're interested in, it can be really valuable. And you can even see, if you're looking at a more generic topic, like how the conversation changed over time. So you might want to look at maybe like 5 years ago and what were the most engaged posts at the time, and then look and do the same like in the last couple of years. And this will look definitely in the training and do some live examples. With Facebook, this unfortunately is the one that has changed for the worse, in the sense that before you could search for any topic and see all the posts that existed with those keywords. Nowadays, you only get a very small sample. And so if you go on Facebook and just like type any topic or you know, name of a person or a campaign in the search box, you can filter the result by posts. If you filter by a recent post, it will order them in time, but it's still a very small sample. So there, like, you know, you can find something, but it's not much, unfortunately. It works best if you're looking for something on a specific page. So I put here an example of the High Seas Alliance. If you click on the search lens in the page and you want to see, has this organization spoken about any of these topics or keywords, you can put in your keywords here, and this time you're going to be able to see all the posts that they ever shared about it. So if you're worried if any like politician has mentioned in a certain way a topic, you could go on their like Facebook page and you know, see if they posted about that, or if another organization that you are considering maybe partnering with, if they're posting about this topic that you have in mind, you can do that, and it can be like a quick search tool to use to find content, just not for the general user conversation. But we might also think maybe people don't post that on Facebook anymore that much. So continue with Instagram. Instagram is a funny one. If you do a desktop search, you will only be able to search for hashtags and usernames. So if I put in the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition, it comes up with the account, and there is no posts there. But if I do the same search on mobile, I can see all the posts that have mentioned it, and I can even so here this like for you is sort of like personalizing it based on my algorithm. But if I look under not personalized, it will show me in order of posting like all the posts about it. There is no explanation anywhere on why it's just on mobile, so it's a bit annoying, if you're working and doing analysis, you can see the content on your desktop, but you still have the option to find it on mobile, so there is something. And with Threads, which is more recent, but some people have moved from X to that, so it can be a new recent source of data. This is something that you can fully see. You can search for any keyword and either look at the top post or just like in time, like go through the recents, and it will show all posts about that. So this is really good news, because I think very often people copy and paste what they've posted on X to Threads now, or they left X and they're posting it on here. So it's a good new, more recent source of data. You just have since July 23, so not much in terms of historical data, but is good for recent conversation. TikTok is a good one, because for a long time they've been focusing on SEO keywords, this in terms of marketing strategies and all that. So people really think about the keywords they're using in the captions or in the videos, and it works very well for research. So you can go to the search bar and search for anything you're interested in, and look under videos, and you will see what has been posted with those keywords and hashtags. And what I found very interesting, that it even suggests on the side what other users, like the keywords other users have searched for like the same topic. So it gives you good suggestions of things that you might want to research next, to see if there is anything relevant that you're looking for. I think TikTok is becoming more and more relevant for anything related to charity causes, climate change, and all of this, because this format of people speaking to camera, like discussing a topic, reporting on news, you will see a lot of like people even with the green screen functionality that will show behind them like a news article, and just like talk through it and discuss it. And this is something that before might have been, a post on X where they shared the article and added their own thoughts, and now they're doing it in the video and elaborating it more, and is creating a lot more engagement from other users. So often the comment sections of these videos are really like interesting for understanding what people think about the topic, and just generally I think it's gonna become more and more relevant for organizations. I sometimes, yes, even as you type your own search, it will already suggest like to finalize the search with some other keywords. So again, you can get an idea of what people search for when they're looking for that topic. Sometimes as well, I don't know why, it will come up and transform it into something random. So I put in High Seas Treaty, and it changed it into, there is like a Netflix show called The High Seas. So I decided I was interested in that instead. So if you think you have looked for something that makes no sense, just check if TikTok has decided to change your search. With YouTube, this is interesting, because YouTube has always said as a platform, like we are a search engine before we are a social media platform. So in terms of being able to search by keywords, hashtags, or anything like that, You have full functionalities of filters. You can search by specific channels. You can search in time, even by like, the length of the video. So its search is really detailed, and you can try even here under filters. There will be a lot of more options that you see at the top. Something that has been recently added, and I find extremely annoying, but is, advertising is the way to make money for everyone, is that now as you type your search, it will start suggesting in the middle of these videos these like sponsored links that will go to, Google search a site or whatever. So it just, if something seems irrelevant in your results, and you just make sure, have a look if there is the sponsored underneath, it's just an advertising that came up with those keywords, and you see the ones afterwards don't have the sponsor. These are like real results of the search. Okay. Reddit is a great source for social media data for like consumer conversation, and I think it has been pushed a lot in terms of Google searches. So very often, I don't know if anyone noticed, if you search for something on Google, the first sort of like couple of results might be Reddit conversations related to that topic. So this because why other platforms are reducing the public access to their data. Reddit is completely accessible for everyone, even if you wanted to use their API and gather the data into your own internal tool, you could do that. And so, for example, for a while, TikTok was showing up a lot in search results as well. And I think since they have created their API and they're selling it to providers, this has decreased a lot. So now you see a lot of Reddit results in Google. The good thing on Reddit, again, you have like full search capabilities. You can filter them by relevance, or you can change this to be by time. So if you want to see the most recent posts about those topics, you could look at just like posts, or you can even find specific subreddit communities, which are really, really valuable. Like these are usually great data to be found in the communities, because people go specifically there to discuss these topics. But you could even look by media, or find comments about this topic on completely unrelated conversations, and see how they came up in there. Which can be an interesting insight if you see suddenly, people about unsustainable fisheries are going to comment on posts about other topics, like, I don't know, local issues in a specific area or anything like that. You can identify something that you were not aware of, that people connected to it. Okay, so just looking at the time to make sure we are good. Okay, LinkedIn is the last one. LinkedIn, I think was like about 2 years ago, they finally added the possibility to search posts. So before you could only look at, people or pages, but you could not search posts by users about any keyword. And now this is an option, which is really useful. So you can on the filter, instead of like, you have people, companies, groups, or whatever, you can now choose posts. And again, you can order them by the most like recent one, or you could see if you're looking for content that has videos or links to articles from members of a certain group, or, people employed by certain companies posting about this. You can really dig deeper into the data, which very often will be sort of more, I suppose, like, professional voices, we can say, since it's LinkedIn, less consumer focused, more people who are actively working on projects around this. And it could be really good, like networking, sort of like connecting with people actively involved in your your projects or in the causes related to your projects, or other organizations that you were not aware of. And you could like filter by location if you're looking for something in a specific country. So I think this has been a really good addition. And I believe here we are. So just like recapping a little bit of everything you can access still for free, I would say the most like extensive ones, definitely like X, advanced search, Reddit and YouTube. They're basically like a big like search with all content from all time. There is no limit in how much you can see, in how many years backwards you can go, or anything specific to your country location and so on. So these are really great source of data. Instagram on mobile works well, but it might often have different results and depending on your country. So just something to be aware of. Threads, I think, is a good one, but it's fairly recent, so there isn't much data yet. And TikTok again changes a lot by country, but the search it's there, so you might just need to like try different, or might be different from mobile and desktop. They are the type of platforms that they just like to really personalize the content, so might change a lot what they show from time to time. And LinkedIn, I think actually is probably more on the line on Reddit and YouTube now, I would say. So it's a good one. I added like a couple of tools that I like. So Tweetonomy was created a really long time ago when X API was totally free. So you could search for any account or any hashtag and see like sort of like statistics around it, not the specific post, but if you're just looking for an idea, oh, do people talk about this hashtag, do they use it, or do people engage with this account, it gives you like really nice data. It was off for a while after the API became paid for. I don't know what deal they've done, if they're paying, I don't know, but it's now back on again and hopefully will stay. So I put it in the free tools for now. And there is this one if you're looking for specifically like around influencers and specific accounts, it's called Hype Auditor. They have like a free version of it where you can check an influencer and it will tell you not like just a few statistics for free, but you can see sort of what their engagement is, what they like hashtags they use, or if people comment on them post or not, anything like that, that can give you a good indication if how active they are. And then like there isn't much on offer, but some of the providers do offer like a very, very simple free plan. Obviously, this is a bit of a marketing tool to try and then get you onto the paid plans, but you can try and you can ask, and it will let you search for like a limited amount of keywords or limited amount of hashtags, but then you have access to like the tool, just even to get an idea of how they work. You can filter through the content. So basically, the selling point of the tools is that you get all of the content in one platform. So you don't have to go to all of the different platforms. You can just go on a tech platform, and any keywords you want to search for, you get results for wherever it is online. And you can filter it all in lots of different ways, create charts with it. So I think these free plans are just like giving you a little bit of an idea of how they look like. So it's worth, if you probably there will be a bit of a sales pitch with it, but it's definitely worth trying. And then when it comes to the paid tools, it varies a lot by country. They all have different markets in which they are stronger, and they change a lot over the years, and they all buy each other. So this is something that keeps changing over time. I would say at the moment, like Meltwater, Brandwatch, Talkwalker are really big in Europe. UScan is more recent, but I really like it. I think their search is really good. Sprinkle, it's used to be bigger in Europe. I think more now focused like Latin America, US. Synthesio was bought by Ipsos in the UK, and I feel they're like focusing less on social media and more trying to push Ipsos market research. So I'm not like, I wouldn't recommend it recently. But yeah, I just put a link here, like on the Social Intelligence Lab, the community I mentioned at the beginning. They have a really big list of all the tools that exist. So if you're looking for anything more specific, like just something for influencers or something for analysis and videos, you can have a browse and see something that might be more specific for you. And all this will look in the intermediate training. So just like some tips, if you have a budget, how you could use it, what's the best way to go, and sort of tips on approaching the providers and what to expect or what they try and offer, and we'll try and cover a bit of that. So looking about the AI, what is something that it still cannot be done, and I think it won't happen because, of course, the social media platforms, sell their data a lot to other companies, to tech providers. So if they just gave it all to OpenAI and Cloud AI and put it on ChatGPT and everyone could get it for free, they would run out of the data business. So I don't see that happening, but you never know. Is that if you try and ask any of the AI tools to look at the social media conversation, or even like I tried here, like giving them a specific account, can you look at the content on it for me? Or can you tell me what people discuss online about some topic? It will come back and say, I cannot access these platforms, and it will try and basically look at their organization website, or if you ask them, like, for example, like, oh, what are like the hashtags that people use the most, it will look at press coverage about the topic and try and find info, or blogs and databases, anything that it can actually access, but not the real content on social media. So it's just something to be aware of, that it cannot be used for. What we can use it for, one is the just like generation of keywords searches. So sometimes with social media listening, like you're trying to capture the broader conversation that you can about a certain area, and you're like trying to think of, oh, what are all the keywords that people use to discuss this topic that I want to research? And you may come up with a bit, and you can try and find synonyms on the dictionary and so on. But I think this is actually something that ChatGPT is really useful for. Like you can say, I'm going to research this topic. Can you help me come up with like synonyms and people like keywords that people use? And so you can create like better searches to use on the platforms. And you, even with the hashtags, even if it's based on web content, is still like quite useful, because often any campaign will have been reported in the press saying that this hashtag was used, or organization will post about it on their website. So you can still find a lot of hashtags that you probably don't know that you can use for your searches. And we see, when we look at the providers in the training, sort of how they have integrated AI inside the tools, which is quite useful to sort through the data. Okay, so yeah, here there is like a few free resources that you can browse when you have time. Like as Natalie mentioned, we are gonna run these trainings soon. One sort of like beginner level, intermediate level, we look at in a minute. I mentioned the Social Media Intelligence Lab. You can look at the resources. There is all sorts of things like webinars, like PDFs, guides, community to connect with other people. So if you're looking for something specific, I really recommend them. X has some good guides that are useful for creating keywords and social research queries. So if you're not familiar with, how to combine and create search of keywords, so I want to look at this word and this word, or this word, or this, all things we'll talk about in the training, but there is some detailed guide in the developer platform that is really easy to understand. And the same I mentioned, and I showed you the X advanced search. There is a full guide on all the filters and how to use them. So it's pretty good. And some providers do offer some webinars and free resources, so that's worth looking at.